Throwback Week on Seahawkers What If? And we're diving into Browns at Seahawks with one eye in the past and one eye on our future. What kind of alternative plans can Shane Waldron spin to get the open-aired kingdom rocking against this Browns top-tier defense? And who on our offensive line needs to have a supersized day to make sure we don't rewind to some 1990s-style offensive woes? Can our Seahawks dial up consistent pressure versus an inconsistent Browns QB to flip the tape on the turnover battle? Stick around to the end to check out our score predictions and, of course, our What If Super Hawk wishes for the week. Make sure to be kind, rewind, and that means subscribing to the Seahawkers podcast out on YouTube. So let's go back in time and ask, what if our Seahawks throw it back? Let's go. Welcome friends to the newest edition of Seahawkers What If, the most unique Seahawks preview show in the multiverse. I am Clinton Bonner, and I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz. And of course, you know by now, this would not be, it could not be, we cannot traverse the Seahawks multiverse without the protector of the multiverse, and that is Mr. Phil Leidick. Boys, I see that you both got the assignment right. I've got the cool backdrop that folks can see out on YouTube, but you guys are wearing the throwbacks. This is Throwback Week. We're celebrating it. Brandon, what you got on there for the folks who are hearing this in the audios, but not the visuals? What are you sporting?
Yeah, based on my basic understanding of accounting, if I buy this throwback shirt and then wear it on stream, it's a write-off. It's a business expense, right?
That's it. It's a walk-off. It's a write-off. It's a business expense, and it raises the Hawkra. Phil, Mr. Phil, you've got that beautiful Easley jersey on once again. How you feeling? How's it feeling today? Does it feel, as we get ready for this throwback week, how's that jersey feeling? Is it symbiotic at this point?
I've been waiting for this to wear the birthday present on the week, and I'm still holding out that when I go to the game on Thanksgiving, that's going to be their second time they use them. I think that would be awesome against the Winers. Yes. But I couldn't be more excited about seeing our entire team wearing beautiful jerseys such as these with the awesome helmet. If I had the money, I would have got the silver helmet to wear for the episode.
I love it. Well, in my brain, you're wearing it. In my heart, you're definitely wearing it. I was watching that Eagles throwback game where they had the Kelly greens on, and the greens are nice. That's nice uniforms. However, it was the helmet. I'm like, these helmets, these are so freaking sharp. So I cannot wait to see. And I got to give love and kudos to the Seahawks social media team and design team. It's just like, what a great plan of theirs. Like every day there's just more footage and more, more building up of what is Throwback Week and really making it
detail too, Clinton. I logged into their to where they post the media guides for media, and it's in throwback colors. And it has like the throwback logo across the top, and then they also changed the type font on the first page from whatever standard font that they were using to a typewriter font. It's like, oh my gosh.
Right. If you're gonna be a bear, be a grizzly, as we say, right? So you just do it all the way through, which is so cool. And of course, folks, if you are watching this on YouTube, we don't ask for much. We just want you to subscribe to the channel. That helps a lot. Like, drop the comment. That drives the algorithms. It gets more 12's eyes on this, and we certainly like that. And of course, if you're listening on audio, then subscribe there and just share it. That's the big thing. Share it with other 12's. We certainly appreciate that because we love doing this. It is to bring joy. It is to talk about something we all love and we all come together with. And it's our Seahawks. That's the centerpiece, and we really do enjoy it. So, Mr. Phil, as we get going into what is this game against a very stingy Browns team and stingy Browns defense, we like to look back and see, well, what the heck happened then if this is a stingy defense? How'd the Colts do what they did? Let's do previously with the protector and figure out what went down in Browns Colts that we need to know about.
Yeah, it's hard to really solve what happened in this game because you can tell they're a good defense, and yet points kept happening. But the Browns, a lot of things might take place as we play them. They keep having running backs get hurt. Their offense is 20th overall in DVOA, 31st in passing. Pretty bad, but they just run all the time anyway. So they kind of combine that with their defense. They're third with the run. Kareem Hunt's still solid. He can do whatever he needs to do as a running back. Watson had great protection through a pick anyway. It looks like it might be Walker this week. Tough to figure out. He's dangerous with his legs. He's able to make some plays. Nyoku is big and bad. He was making a big difference with after the catch. Just some manly plays the dude was doing. Cooper played especially poorly. His first 3 targets, he just looked awful. He finally had a couple catches later. I expected to see more from him. Offensive mistakes kept the Colts in the game. They were even bailed out by a huge call at the end that allowed them to go ahead and win the game. Defense, they're first by DVOA, number 1 against the pass, 7th against the run. Minshew, Burnham on a hard count 60-yarder, just toasted them. That helped the Colts score. Pass rush is overwhelming on known passing plays. Oftentimes they're coming from all over the place. Just tough to deal with. Rollouts and draw plays seem to mitigate okay. Number 22, their box safety. He can be a problem. Anything there close. Opportunities to get open. If you can handle the pass rush, there are places to get open against this team for sure. Middle of the field and when you're not trying to go against 21. Denzel Ward, number 21. I obviously have a typo here. That must be the theme of the week, Clinton. Denzel Ward, number 21. Great pick. It was a phenomenal pick that he had. Occasionally, they were poor tackling at the second level. That might be a chance to get some yak. But that's what I saw in this one. Did you guys have anything to add from the game?
I think we'll get into it, but for me, the biggest piece was just that to see the stats here that they are 20th in DVOA on offense, and they're so poor at passing the ball because Watson's been hurt or just ineffective, and PJ Walker is who he is, and yet still be 20th. And I'm sure we'll get into the whys there behind all that, and not just the running backs. But there's lots to kind of discover there. So I think let's get into it.
Let's do it. Okay. I'm stoked about this week's theme. Probably as stoked as I've ever been about a theme, the throwback week. And I was telling Brandon before the show, there's like 50 categories that I didn't get to choose, including floppy disk, blockbuster, Tamagotchi, all kinds of Tamagotchi, all kinds of things that was big in the 90s. I was a little bit older in the 90s. I was a teen in the 90s, but I wasn't a kid. But there's just a lot of things we could have got to. But here we do, as we go to the 90s, which was one of the greatest decades in the history of the US of A. Here are the categories that we get to choose from. It is game 7, which means it will be Brandon to go first. We have Dial Up, of course, Grunge, Butt Cuts, Supersize, Late Fees, and Discman. We narrowed it down based on the questions a little bit, but there was some great categories. Here's the ones you get to pick from. Where are we going to go first, Brandon?
Yeah, you didn't get Blockbuster in there, but you got the late fees, so it all worked out. And yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned too that the 90s were great in the United States. I don't know how it was anywhere else. We can only judge based on where we lived, but you have to wonder, was it great everywhere else? Who knows? That if I get to pick first, and I think even Clinton knows where I have to go first. If Butt Cuts is on the board, I gotta go Butt Cuts.
I actually didn't know until you said, and when you said it, I was like, okay, I guess I should have known. So, okay, we are going with Butt Cuts. Did you guys rock the serious butt cut in the 90s?
I couldn't. My hair just didn't allow it. It just doesn't do that. So my son, his hair, like bottom right, that's what his hair looks like now. He just got this 90s Leo thing going on, which, hey, if you could rock a 90s Leo thing, rock a 90s Leo thing. Me, no, doesn't work. That doesn't work that way.
Yeah, hair part down the middle. That's the way you had your hair in the 90s, obviously, unless you were Clinton and you couldn't do it.
There's no parting.
Here we go. Brandon, what if this game is decided up the middle? Where might a team be exposed in the run or pass game? So up the middle, issues on either side. What do you have to say about the game up the middle here this week, Brandon?
Yeah, I think that if it's decided up the middle, the thing that I'm concerned about when it comes to the Browns is that I feel like their strength of their offensive line is right in the middle with their center and their 2 guards combo, which in terms of the run game, I feel like it may neutralize each other for the Seahawks defense. But, when it comes to passing situations, I don't know if we'll be able to get quite enough pressure there. And so PJ Walker, if he's starting, even if it's just Sean Watson, I think for any analysis at the quarterback spot, it doesn't really matter too much which one of them is playing, because I think both of them are hindered in different ways that just make that spot a problem for them. But if we aren't getting a pass rush up the middle and PJ Walker has an opportunity to step up and just find some of those short dump off passes over the middle where they can pick up extra yards, if they can find Njoku, or maybe Nyoku, as you called him in the intro.
Nyoki.
I kind of like Nyoku. I don't really even know how it's pronounced, but I
think
always
it's
thought
Njoku.
Njoku. Yeah. That's okay.
But I think if they can get those, on third down, find those short passes, dump offs, and pick up a couple third downs here and there to where they can get into field goal range. I mean, who knows how many points that the field goal kicker has to put up on the board for it to be a rough day for the Seahawks. But I think it's going to be that interior pass rush that for the Seahawks that it could be rough.
Yeah, and their kicker was killing some long field goals in that last game. I didn't even mention that, but absolutely. Clinton, you want to keep talking defense, or do you want to talk about what we might be able to do in the middle of the field?
No, I want to talk about our defense, but the piece that I think is the more intriguing part is the Browns' offensive line. Now, I don't really know what to think about the Colts' ability to defend against the Browns' run. What I saw on about half of the game that I was watching on the condensed replay was that the Browns' offensive line are a bunch of body movers. They move people and it right up the gut, right. And then of course they have talented enough backs who can bounce it outside, but they are not afraid to run between, it's condensed in between the guards there, right over center, run between the guards. That to me is the matchup of the game. Now I realize they lose Ford, but like you said in the previously, they got Kareem Hunt sitting right there, and they got Pierre Strong to back him up, who they got from the Patriots earlier, who's a pretty talented guy too. I think Ford, at this point in their career, I think Ford that's why he was starting. I think he was a better replica of Nick Chubb, who had that horrific injury earlier in the year, than Kareem Hunt is at this point in their career. But Kareem Hunt is still a guy. He's still really quite good. What I'm really interested in is Draymond Jones and Jaron Reed, and then when it's Myles Adams and really specifically too Cam Young. If we need that bigger body guy, can Cam Young see more snaps and just eat space? Can he do the Al Woods things so that it frees up our second level? And will we see Devin Bush this game or no? We're just going to be, three safeties on the field like we had 60% of the time, so it could be right around the line of scrimmage. That to me is going to be the where to watch this game is, are they getting 4, 5, 6 yards per carry, or are we still doing what we've been doing all year long, but now against a different level of offensive line, a different team that is very committed to running this football? That is where I think the game is going to be won. I'll say it that way for our Seahawks.
All right. Yeah. So it's all about the defense up the middle. I could see that. Yeah. Clinton, your next dial-up grunge supersized late fees or Discman back in the 90s.
Well, I think we got, guys, you guys know I'm a sucker for the music ones. So now there's a couple there. That could be the Discman when you're rocking that down or plugging it into your cigar or your what's that thing called? Your lighter, right? Plugging into your lighter in your car, because the Discman could do that at some point as well, which is super cool. With all that, well, what are you going to play on the Discman? It's the 90s. We're going to be spinning some grunge. Let's go grunge.
Especially Seattle, I guess. There you go.
Of course. I mean, this is the thing. This is it.
Clinton, what if there are a few alternatives for the Hawks to rock in this game? What plays do you think can work against this playmaking defense? We're talking alternative music. How about some alternative play style to deal with all those playmakers?
Love this question and prepped thinking there'd be a question like this. So awesome. Okay. It's great. I have some stuff right here that I'm like, I think he's going to probably ask about this. And for the folks out there, we don't know what Phil's going to ask, right? We don't know the theme fully. We don't know what the question's going to be. We're just thinking on the fly, and we prepare when we can. So the thing I really want to see us do here is I want to see us treat first down as a passing down situation. And the reason being is You said it earlier. If we get into second and longs and third and long situations, this defensive line of the Browns, it's no fun. We're going to have a bad time. We're not whole yet. We did some things last week. We talked about the Bengals game saying, hey, I think we tried to go too much 11 personnel 1 week too soon. And then we had further injuries, Evan Brown, et cetera, et cetera. So what did we do last week? We ended up doing, again, lots more 12 and 13 personnel, less 11 personnel. Cool. Seemed to work out pretty well. I expect even more, less 11 personnel, so more 12 and 13. But let's throw the ball early and often on first down. Let's get the ball to Ken Walker. Let's get the ball to JSN. Let's get the ball to tight ends. Hello, Noah Fant is open all the time so that we end up in 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5, et cetera, and we're not behind the sticks early, and we're using the passing game at the short passing game as a really smart extension of how do we get as a de facto run game early and often. So in 2nd and 5 and 3rd and 2, we can run the ball and convert with Ken Walker on the ground. That is, I think, a really good recipe to not allow the Browns to do the one thing we can't allow them to go do.
Yeah, the big fear is that remember the end of the Bengals game is like,
yes,
every moment where we have to pass could look like that with Myles Garrett and his boys.
Well, you said had to pass. There was like a minute and a half to go. We didn't have to pass. Yeah. We chose to pass. So in this one, let's flip the script.
I wasn't trying to recreate that all. I was just saying it looks that disruptive when you watch the Browns when it's a must-pass situation.
Correct.
Brandon, what do you got? Some alternative plays as we throw it back.
Yeah, well, since it is grunge week and we're talking alternative, I'm going to talk Spoon Man.
Nice.
And in week 7, it was interesting because in week 6, we saw Devin Witherspoon play 42 snaps at the slot corner spot and only 7 snaps out wide. It went the other direction this past week against the Arizona Cardinals. He played 39 snaps out wide and only 19 at slot corner. With it being the idea of an alternative, this is one where I'd like to see it switch back to have him more at the slot corner against this Browns, especially because they're probably going to be running the ball more, a lot more short passes. I want Spoon more in that slot corner position against the Browns.
I could see that as an alternative. And they do, I guess the Browns are number 1 in 13 personnel in the league. So
really? Their usage?
Yeah, that's what they're right there at the top. So.
Yeah, well, if they're running the ball a lot, then why not have some extra blockers?
Totally makes sense. I just love the fact that, look, we got dogs who are safeties and DBs who can tackle, who will come up and smack people too. Yeah. So that'll be a really interesting part of the game to watch too. That's awesome.
Without Nwosu, we're going to need some help from those box safety corner situation for sure.
Totally.
Brandon, you're up next.
All right. I am going to go with something that plagued me in the 90s at Blockbuster, the late fees.
And who wasn't plagued by Blockbuster with the massive late fees? This one, I give you a chance to kind of rate or decide what's most important on timing, which is why we got late fees, because we prioritized other things. Brandon, what if our Hawks can avoid tardiness? Which area is most vital for us to be on time with? The pre-snap, getting the play in, Geno vision and decisions, like him seeing it on time, DBs being on time, pass rush getting home on time, or linebackers properly filling the holes? What are going to be your top 3 priorities for being on time?
Yeah, and I like that you gave us some options here. I think with the idea of pre-snap and Geno, both of those kind of play together a little bit, because getting to the line early, I think, can give Geno the opportunity to see the defense, understand where he might need to go quickly with it, because when it comes to that vision decision piece, he's not going to have a lot of time. So we're not going to see some of those same plays where he drops back, has the nice pocket with the Cardinals, and then is able to, kind of go through a progression and deliver it to an open guy. I think it's going to be more like you were saying with the Bengals game, where it's you're dropping back and you're having to make a quick decision because something is breaking down somewhere. even if you put an extra tight end on the Myles Garrett side, as we saw in the game against the Colts, he would just go through 2 defenders rather than 1. So it didn't even really much matter if you put 2 guys on him or 1.
Or 3 of his friends would get through while he was doubled.
Yeah, or they sent Delpit off the edge, and then and Minshew was having to make some of those quick decisions that resulted in quite a few turnovers.
3 fumbles.
3 fumbles, and where he's just has 0 time. So that was one thing that I did like about Kirk Cousins in the game against the Niners, is that he had that kind of quick decision making, to where when it was breaking down quickly, he was delivering to whatever hot route it was. And
hey, pause for a second, Brandon.
Yeah.
Not one thing. I liked everything that Kirk Cousins. I liked that a lot. I have to say that was a lot of fun.
I did like that.
You like that, yeah.
So I want to see a Geno game like we saw with the Kirk game against the Niners.
Awesome. So the big ones for you are pre-snap on time and getting rid of it quickly. Any of these other ones, DB timing, pass rush, getting home, LB filling holes, any of those most important that you would say for the defense for timing?
No, I was leaving all of those open for Clinton.
Awesome. That you're so nice at this. You're so nice on this show, Brandon. Clinton, go ahead on tardiness. What's most important that we're on time?
Yeah, love. I think Brandon might have taken the top answer off the board, and that's good. That's when you're in pole position. That's what you should do. Nicely done. I am gonna take the DB timing one and just morph it a slight bit, and like kind of be a bit liberal with the definition of timing. So last week we played 3 safeties, which meant Julian Love was on the field 60% of the time. So can we do that again? I think we can, because the types of dudes we have, it makes Jamal Adams very often a de facto extra linebacker, and he likes to come up and smack dudes.
Yeah.
So how often, timing wise, can we sit in 3 safeties and still cater to a team that we know wants to run the ball? And so we'll be a little bit quote unquote lighter, but I'm not sure that matters. You got PJ Walker. When they say run the ball too, that's going to be PJ Walker also, who I think we said had 11 rushes for 74 yards. Well, guess what? We need the type of personnel out there that can fly to the flats, recognize this stuff, and then tackle soundly. And sure, we need some big body Cam Young love this week, right dead center. The rest of it, we need to be really, really fast and sound tackling. So I like us to keep throttling the 3 safety formations, really just leaning into that quite a bit and trusting that those are the dudes who can go out there, fly around the ball, protect all the dink and dunks, whether it's to Njoku, the stuff out to the flats, and just be very, very focused on shutting down what the Browns do well. So that to me is that DB timing. I don't think it's going to be a lot of stuff to the edges. I don't think it's gonna be a lot of stuff to Cooper, 20 plus yards downfield. Elijah Moore, they haven't really figured it out quite yet. I think the dude's got lots of skill, but it doesn't seem to be, he's good, but don't quite see it yet with the timing with PJ Walker being super effective. So it's just like concentrating all firepower on the nearest Star Destroyer, and that is the Browns running the football, and PJ Walker trying to extend that with his feet too. That to me is the DB timing I really want to see focused on.
Yeah, and Jamal and Spoon have ability to have great timing on their runs, when to break down. I'd like Woolen to get a little better on timing, when to go, when to pull the trigger. But absolutely, the
and I think it's real clear, but I think Love is quite good there too.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to swing and miss too often. He seems to line up his tackle runs properly. And the timing between the pass rush and the DBs is huge. Like if we're trying to crowd them and hurry up the quarterback's clock, then we got to be close early. But if we're not having some kind of pressure package, then you have to be ready to make sure you don't get beat deep. So I think Hurt's been really good on timing in this second part of the second half of the first 6 games, or however you want to put that. Right. He's been really lining that up pretty well. Here we go. We are next with Dial Up, Supersized, Late Fees, or Discman. Your next choice. No, we already did.
We did late fees, yeah.
So we're down to 3, which means it's Clinton. Dial Up, Supersize, or Discman.
And you think I'd go back to the music well, but I'm going to leave that there and see if Brandon wants it, because The day they took away the supersized fries and did a documentary to tell me that I shouldn't eat so much fast food. Yeah, I understand that. I know how fast food works, people. I could regulate my own body and understand that if I eat that all the time, it's not going to be good for my deal. I want the supersized Diet Coke. I want the supersized fries. And this is my chance to get it. So give it to me, Phil. Give me the supersize. There it is.
Supersize
Look
me,
at that.
Clinton. There we go. I almost had this one, be kind, please rewind, but
Love it.
so I couldn't help myself. I had to throw the little sticker on there.
Sure. I love it.
But here we go, Clinton. For the Hawks to be kind to our eyes, we need a big game from the O-line. Otherwise, we won't want to ever rewind and watch this. What if our line is mostly overwhelmed? Is there still a path to Hawks victory if throughout the game our O-line is getting overwhelmed, Clinton?
There definitely is a path to victory. So I hinted at some of it earlier. I'll just restate that part, which I think is throwing short on what seem to be obvious rundowns. I think running downs. I think that'll be part of the formula. And I really do think, getting into the 12 and 13 personnel even more often is going to be what we do here. It does depend. We record this on Wednesday. We don't know what the injury report looks like yet. And let's see where Evan Brown's health is. And if Evan Brown is back in play, it's not just interesting for be like, okay, cool, we got our best center back. That's true. But does it become simply, look, for this game, Evan, we need you to slide to right tackle. We're going to keep Olu at center because that's our best package.
Right
D-Lou,
guard.
by the way, D-Lou, I'm going to start calling him D-Lou D-Glue. That dude just comes back in and
he's awesome. Yeah.
Batman and Gotham. It's locked down, right? So that side with Cross and D-Lou feeling pretty cool. So yeah, there's some manipulation here, Phil and Brandon. We'll see what happens with the injuries, but those are a couple of ways. And I'm not sure that I left anything on the board for Brandon. So Brandon, I'm sorry I did that to you, bud.
There's other paths. There's other paths to victory. I think even if our offense has a really hard time with doing what you're saying, I think there's a possible paths. I hope. Do you got some hope for us, Brandon? If our O-line really struggles?
I just wanted to ask Clinton if he meant to say right tackle for Evan Brown or if he meant right guard.
Oh, right guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is our best backup guard. I wasn't sure if he can slide all the way out to tackle or not.
No, and let's some love to Forsyth, right?
Yeah.
Did a nice job. That was better. And
I mean, against the Cards, we were bound to look better than we did against the Bengals, but
while that's true, going from left tackle to right tackle, that ain't easy. And he did hey, Stone, good job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so the path to victory for the Seahawks, if you go back and you look at the number of points that the Browns offense scored off of the turnovers, whether it was just recovering a fumble in the end zone, whether it was getting the ball in, almost inside the red zone, I think they maybe ran a couple of running plays and able to get into the end zone. Officiating late practically gifted them a touchdown to get the go-ahead touchdown for the win, and then field position and that sort of thing, getting points for the field goal kicker. So with that in mind, if you're able to do something similar as look, if you're the Colts, take away those turnovers. So what I'm saying, a path to victory might be if Geno Smith is in those situations under pressure. Yeah, maybe don't force it into double and triple coverage. Eat the sack, go down. That way you can hopefully win some of the field position game with Michael Dixon. And then
don't fumble, don't fumble,
don't turn it over, any of those things, because that way we can count on our defense to put the offense in positive positions. And that way the Seahawks offense are the ones kicking the field goals or pick sixing and getting points that way. So the thing is, if the line is overwhelmed, don't turn the football over. Count on the defense.
Yeah, it's very tough to win when your O-line is overwhelmed, but our team has some other playmakers. I think it's still possible. Maybe some commenters can throw it in the comment how they could see us doing it if our O-line is having a rough time. Supersize is gone. Supersize. We are down to Dial Up or Discman. Two big 90s things, Brandon.
All right. Clinton wanted to defer the Discman to me, so I will oblige.
Did you guys use the Discman?
Of course.
No, I could not afford a Discman.
No Sony Discman for you.
No, I was a tape cassette guy for a long time.
And me too, but the Discman made its way. Yeah.
When I traded from my Walkman to my Discman, I thought I was so excited because of the cleaner sound, skipping to songs. But then you know what we found out? Skips and scratches, and even doing the paper route, it bangs around and you can't get it to stay on the track you want. I found myself saying, I kind of liked the cassette because I didn't run into this issue. So, Brandon, what if some Browns might cause scratchy moments that we'll want to skip over? Whose name do we not want to hear make plays on repeat? Some Browns, we don't want to hear them making big plays.
Yeah, I feel like we've mentioned Myles Garrett quite a bit, but I'll pass on that. And another guy, and if you listen to the flagship show, I said they have 3 game wreckers on defense. 2 of them are Myles Garrett, and one of them is Grant Delpit. And that's the guy that at safety that I don't want to hear his name over and over, because just like Myles, I imagine there's going to be some times where we hear his name, but if we're hearing also Delpit's name over and over, then it's going to be a really tough day. And he's a guy who can blitz off the edge. He's a guy who can be out in the flat and taken out. If we do want to try and throw some of those short passes, that he can be the guy breaking those up. So I'm going to go with Delpit.
Delpit it is. Clinton, how about you? Some guys you don't want to hear make plays on repeat.
Yeah, and they do got some of them, man. So and Delpit's a baller. Recovered Ward. Obviously, we talked Myles Garrett. So how about the interior defensive line there too, with a player that we liked a lot last year with us, Shelby Harris.
Yeah.
A good baller in his own right. And they also, they got Dalvin Tomlinson. Yeah. So right up with the gut.
So they're just Smith on the other
and then I was going to say Z Smith. So if we're let's say overcompensating, I'm not really sure you can overcompensate for Myles Garrett. You just got to kind of just compensate. That's the problem. Is like, where do you, even if we're in 13 personnel and we're tight formation 13 personnel and we're over catering to Myles Garrett's side, well, that might mean we got some one-on-one situations where Zadarius Smith can go do damage. So it's just that balance. It is a delicate thing to kind of reach that homeostasis with how do you do this well against the Browns team that's really, really good. If we hear a different line guy that's getting 1.5 or 2 sacks, not Myles Garrett, I don't want to hear that either. I realize there's a trade-off there, but that's the piece I don't want to hear there. On the flipping quickly to the offensive side, because we didn't talk much there, I would just say PJ Walker in the, I don't think he's going to be quite accurate, maybe 50, 60% tops with his completion percentage. I don't want to see him doing damage with his feet. That's an area where he can extend, he can get those extra first downs, maintain time of possession, just get into field goal range with his feet. We've got the right personnel. Again, it's back to those 3 safeties who could fly around the ball and spy and just do those things. Let's really limit the damage that PJ Walker can do with his feet. If we see him just ticking off first downs on us, again, signs that we're not having the day we want to have.
Yeah, you guys aren't worried about Peoples-Jones or Elijah Moore or anything like that? I'm worried about Njoku, but no.
I'm not. I think we match up. I mean, look, you don't have a premier quarterback here by any stretch. Yeah. Not to say the dude can't have a good day, but we're dealing with a bottom 5, certainly bottom 10, easily lower third QB, probably lower quarter, even lower, less than lower fifth.
He might be top 50, top 60 in the league.
We have 2 better quarterbacks, maybe 3. Yeah. So no, I'm not worried about those channels because I think we've got the right personnel to shut those things down.
Okay. Last one. Looks like we're going to Dial Up. Nobody wanted to touch Dial Up because it just brings back too many bad memories, I guess.
Yes.
I have fond memories of the time.
We couldn't do this show if we still had dial-up internet.
That's absolutely right.
And we couldn't do this show if dial-up internet never existed. So,
well,
likely.
That's true. That might be true. Speaking of Clint's, what if Clint Hurtt dials up some creative pressure packages? How might the Browns try and deal with our pressure? We haven't talked about our pressure. What things might they do to try to mitigate some of our dialed up pressure, Clinton?
So, we talked about Nwosu going down and likely for the year. bad. And we also talked about on 3 and 3 out, and I'm sure it's being covered. Adam and Brandon, I'm sure you cover it too, with what's going to happen with Nwosu and what can we do with Darrell Taylor out there. So we have to find out also, what are we doing with our practice squad? Is Levi Bell going to get a call up? We just got to see how that all just plays out as the week goes on. So that'll just be interesting as we get to Thursday and Friday and get close to game day. The Browns, they're not going to stretch the field, I don't think, with PJ Walker. I just don't see it happening. So ways in which they can mitigate some of this pressure. You said it earlier, so I hate to go back to the well on this one, but I think it's the obvious answer. They sit in 13 personnel for a reason. And I think the way that they mitigate pressure, sorry to be so old fashioned, is by running the ball, right? Gelling the ball, trying to jelly the ball down our throats and see, okay, our success versus the Giants, our success versus the Cardinals, our success versus the Lions. That was a good run team. Our success versus the Panthers, meaning our success stopping the run. Can they do it? I don't think they try anything special. I really don't. I think they line up in 12 and 13 personnel, and I think they run the ball over and over and over and see if we could stop it. And that's going to be, I don't think there's anything else that's sitting there that's going to be special sauce that they break out, because I don't think they have the personnel for special sauce type plays.
Yeah, racked it up like T-ball. Clinton nailed the easy double or triple. So now we have to dial it up over to Brandon, and he's got to deal with the heater of coming up with something else. Brandon, how might they try to deal with pressure beside from just run the ball? Anything else?
No, in fact, I kind of want to just add on to Clinton's answer on this one, because if you're talking about pressure packages for the Seahawks defense, then that means Darrell Taylor is likely on the field, because that's a guy that you want on the field on obvious passing situations. And I think the Browns could try and take advantage of that. They are one of the more 50-50 split teams in terms of passing and running the ball, which you don't see a whole lot of in today's NFL. Even with the Seahawks, we talk about them being a running team, but they are, more pass heavy than a lot of teams out there. So if Darrell Taylor's on the field, and he was for quite a few snaps,
too much.
Too much. I think it was almost 40 snaps. And I would, even with Ford out, Kareem Hunt in, I would run Kareem Hunt in the direction of Darrell Taylor.
Yeah. If there's Taylor and Woolen on the same side, I'm running there every single time. Probably that's the thing. I would ask you, Brandon, the Browns haven't been good on third down, and they were only 4 of 16 last week. Let's say on third down, just to help a little bit, it's third and long. Any ideas of something they might try? You think they're still just going to run a draw play?
Don't give up penalties, because I don't know why, but the Browns are great at getting third down penalties that end up extending drives. So, don't be, if you're Draymond, don't be jumping offside early. If you're one of the outside corners, make sure you're not putting your hands all over a DB, because whatever the officials like to give Browns free plays for whatever reason, and I don't understand it.
That's true. They did get that at the end of the game, and they've got
quite a few games against the Niners too.
Quite a few first downs through penalties. They do have that. That's right.
We were okay with the one versus the Niners, for the record.
That's true.
Very okay with
I love that one, and I didn't care about last week either. I just don't want it to happen against us.
I don't want it to impact us, right?
Right. It's not a third. All we're saying is not a third time in a row. That's all we're saying, right? So
that's right.
Great.
Well, we're going to go to From the Flock. We're talking about our What If Super Hawks, our wishes for this particular game. I asked the flock to throw their wishes into the wishing pool, or whatever, wishing well, I guess would be a better way to call it. Sure. We have Frost first, and he wishes right in the middle of the afternoon. Clint Hurtt to find creative ways, there we go, to help DT, Darrell Taylor, in the run game. So maybe our run D goes from great to just very good, given the loss of Nwosu. So the best we could wish for with losing Nwosu and having DT in there is that we go from great to pretty good.
Yeah, and Phil, I want to ask you and Brandon too, like, what do we think we do? I mean, it's only Wednesday. Do you think it's Levi Bell? Like, is that the go-to move? Phil, what do you think we're going to end up seeing as the week progresses?
Well, on our quickie show that Adam and I did, he says we should go with a lot more Derek Hall, which I think they're going to try. Hopefully he can live up to rookie Mafe, and then we'll be okay. Just Taylor comes in when it's long plays, and so that's a possibility. I'm not against Schneider pulling the trigger to find a value guy out there on his last year or something who is solid at setting the edge. I'm not against that. I'm not against considering some other guys getting them off the couch if they're solid at setting the edge. We have guys that can rush the passer. I'm worried about losing our edge setting.
And Brandon, I'm figuring you and Adam talked about it too, but I think you had a take on maybe one of those couch guys too, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, whether it's Bruce Irvin coming off the couch, is he able to do it? Frank Clark's hanging around out there. Those are kind of the guys that, former Seahawks, guys that that you could potentially bring in on the team. I think any of those are possible, but I am intrigued by Levi Bell and just seeing what that depth piece is. Yeah, again, we're talking just a few snaps. I think it's those other guys that you start to think about when, maybe if you have another injury and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's there's options.
Because we don't just need him against the Browns. We need him against the Ravens. We need him against both times against the Niners. We need some edge setters against these coming opponents for sure.
Good point.
And you know what? We haven't seen a lot of Devin Bush. Can Devin Bush be a guy that you can, that can be that guy that can play a little bit more of the outside pass rusher linebacker than, now that you have Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner kind of locked in at the other linebacker spots.
And there was Tyreek Smith, but I felt like he was getting washed a little in the run game too. So I'm not really sure about Levi. Levi might be the one.
I thought Tyreek was pretty good in the preseason. Also, I think they were the ones battling where we were like, "Oh, which one's going to make it?" And it was neither. Yeah. So I guess we'll see which one, if one does get called up now, right?
Okay, so next one from the flock is Amy, who designed Pete's Beach House. Her wish, Gino to finish a game as strong as he starts. Waldron, please help him to make this true. Yeah, we have to agree with that. Red Wagon. The O-line keeps the quarterback pressures to a minimum. Now, there's a wish, and I will throw in a coin if that will help that happen. When he has time, Gino dices up defenses. Yeah, Gino can do some stuff if we can give him some time. And I think Clinton's nailed it. The way to do this is unexpected passing times. Don't pass when it's expected. I think that's probably right. Then we have the last wish from Jay in beautiful Alaska. Okay, it's a twofer. We have to have one person that has a double wish or triple or quad, right? So
that's just the way.
Darrell Taylor learns how to play the run, or they find someone to play instead of him. And we touched on that quite a bit. Okay, gentlemen, Brandon gets to go first. What if Superhawk, who he almost got last week just by a few yards or a few inches, depending on how you look at it, one pass and one Gino sneak away by just a little bit. You didn't get your wish. What's your wish this week?
Yeah, or a few yards, I guess, if you go back and look at the one touchdown to JSN. It wasn't quite inside the red zone, but yeah. Ooh, I kind of want to play for a steal in this situation because I think I know where Clinton's going with his what if Superhawk this week.
Really?
And,
okay.
I do. I think that he might be leaning toward Ken Walker, which I was also leaning toward. That might be too. Hey, I don't know.
It's always Fant with Clinton, isn't it?
It is true. He is obsessed with the tight ends. I don't know
somebody has to be, guys. Somebody has to be.
I'm going to go Kenneth Walker with at least 4 receptions because I like what Clinton was saying about getting the ball to him on some of those obvious running downs, getting him outside. I liked what I saw from Jonathan Taylor on the outside against the Browns. He was able to pick up some big yardage when he was able to get out there in space. And so having Kenneth Walker in space is what I want to see. And 4 receptions should allow for him to at least pick up a couple explosive plays.
4 receptions. Brandon's getting in on the strategy more and more. Clinton, who, by the way, I loved your guys' 3 in 3 out show. I enjoyed it on my mountain bike ride. Gave me a lot of thoughts. Awesome show. I think this is the week of awesome shows on the Seahawkers Network. You got to listen to that one if you hadn't yet. Clinton, your wish for this game against the Browns.
Yeah, and thank you, Phil. That's kind of you. And I really enjoyed. We're gonna find out like what's up with Charbonnet, right? We'll find that out probably today. Like what's up with that hamstring, and is it? I loved the fact that Charbonnet was out, and we didn't dilly dally with like, okay, we're gonna give more touches. Nope, it was Ken Walker. He had 26 touches plus receptions. Hey, if he's got to be the kind of the RB1, the old school, if we're going to throw it back to the 90s when a guy gets 30 touches in a game, well, if you got to do it one more time, that's okay. So I really like that, Brandon, by the way. So mine's going to be, it's not so much a Hawk. It is, I want to see us keep Walker, PJ Walker. So it is a Walker. You're on the right track there. I want to see him under 20 yards rushing.
Oh, wow.
Because they're going to try to, they'll manufacture some draws. He's going to be scrambling sometimes. If we can keep him under 20, that'll be like a sure sign that like they are under a lot of duress and nothing's going their way is my opinion, or everything's going their way and he doesn't have to run the ball. That seems to me very unlikely. Under 20 yards rushing the ball for their quarterback.
Okay. That's going to be.
I want to pick another one. I feel like I have so many different ways I could go with
this.
There's
a lot of things. Yeah, that's going to be
a
tough one, Clinton. That's going to be a very tough one. So you didn't go shallow on your wish. You just created it in like a negative wish. We're wishing against, but it's still wishing for our defense. So
for sure.
If I were to pick one guy though, with the idea of defense. I know I have my one wish. I gave it, but now I want to give Clinton like a player. I would say
if I had two wishes,
I would say Jamal Adams, like 3 stops, right? Okay. Because if Jamal's getting those stops, it means he's limiting either the quarterback or the running back and keeping, because I think the goal of the defense is to allow less yards, and they're on the streak of keeping opponents under 250 yards of offense. 3 games in a row. It's the first time they've done it since 2015. And I think to go 4 straight weeks, this is a good week for it to happen.
We could throw it back. Love it.
Throwing it back all the way to 2015.
Brandon always has all these different ways to try to convince me, but I also said this. And speaking of which,
I gave you my what if Super Hawk. Come on.
Double Brandon, double Super Hawk. I love it.
This is for the listener. This is extra bonus material.
Very good. I love it. Okay, Clinton, I thought your wish was for the 32% pressure, but that was more of like a key stat. And we didn't get that. We got 21%. I thought for sure we did. Your actual
2 interceptions, right?
Was that
2 interceptions?
Yes, multi-pick game, which we did not do a multi-pick game. We just got ripped off on some. So
exactly.
Brandon's was, as we already said, Geno getting red zone touchdown. Super close. He didn't get that. And yet he has brought us to a tie because he exactly picked the point differential. We won by 10. So great job on your score prediction.
Thank you, history.
Thank you, history. And I think history almost never matters, and yet somehow it does when Brandon decides to go there. So, Brandon, you get to predict the score first this week. As you guys are in a tie, someone's going to inch into the lead next week. Big moment.
My prediction for this game against the Browns, it's going to be a relatively ugly game because it's going to be defense heavy. And I'm going to say that the Browns are able to kick 4 field goals to get to 12 points, but the Seahawks are going to score 17 and get the win by 5.
17-12 Seahawks. I like it. I could totally see that happening. Always go the under in this game, right? Clinton, what is your prediction for the score?
Funny enough, I got one of the same numbers. So I wrote it down. I got Browns scoring 12. Also, I think the Seahawks are going to manufacture more opportunities than it seems. So I think a defensive touchdown's in play or a big defensive scoop where we get an easy 6 on like a canine walk-in or something like that. A couple plays later, I'm going to go 27-12 Seahawks. It won't feel that way. It will just end that way. Okay. And I think we win this game by more than folks obviously expect.
Yeah, I really don't. But I think we need a defensive score or the defense to get us into position to score. I really think we need that
I think it's
in
happening.
this
Yeah.
game. But you guys are more bullish when I'm more concerned, and then the other way it goes. So, but 27-12, that'll be fun. Then
Yes.
that's gonna say something to the league if we do that for sure. Well, with that, I think there's one thing left to say. What if we say go Hawks?
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Throw it back.
Go back. Sorry. I'll probably cut that out or keep it in.